But I keep hearing that Angel Reese and Asia Wilson, well, my goodness, they're the ones with the motion in the WNBA. They're the ones moving the needle.
They said Angel Reese was the movement. They said she was just as big as Caitlin Clark. They screamed it across social media, flooded comment sections, and tried to rewrite the story of women's basketball before it even finished being written. But when the real numbers dropped, not the hype, not the headlines, but cold, undeniable facts, the truth hit like a sledgehammer. Caitlin Clark didn't just outshine Angel Reese. She left her in the dust so badly, you almost feel bad even calling it a comparison.
Angel Reese is now quoted as saying, "I'll look back in 20 years and be like, yeah, the reason why we're watching women's basketball is not just because of one person." She refuses to say Caitlin Clark's name. It's because of Me Too, and I want you to realize that.
And once you see the numbers, you'll realize this isn't a rivalry. This is a landslide, but that's just the beginning. If you spent even a minute on social media this year, you've seen it. The non-stop campaign from Angel Reese supporters declaring that she's the real reason women's basketball is booming. Twitter threads, Instagram stories, TikToks, Reddit, posts, all screaming that Angel's cultural impact is why people are watching. You could barely scroll without seeing fans insisting that Angel and Caitlin Clark were neck and neck, equals on the court, equals off it, two sides of the same coin.
I'll look back in 20 years and be like, yeah, the reason why we watching women's basketball is not just because of one person, it's because of Me Too, and I want y'all to realize that.
Angel herself made it loud and clear during interviews. When we look back in 20 years, it won't just be because of one person. She didn't even say Caitlin's name, and that silence spoke volumes. The media played into it too, carefully framing headlines to stir drama and clicks. Angel versus Caitlin, the rivalry changing the WNBA. Except it wasn't a rivalry, not even close. Because real rivalries aren't built on wishful thinking. They're built on receipts. They're built when two forces collide and the world can't decide who the better one is.
Sorry, young lady. Nobody knows who you are. Nobody would be watching the WNBA additionally for you. This is all about Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark is bringing the money to the game, the planes to the game, the TV viewership. The WNBA is on fire because of Caitlin Clark.
There's no debate here. Fans know it. The league knows it. The numbers screamed it. And when the real stats dropped, all the noise vanished like it had never even been there. But the real humiliation was still to come.
What I think is probably the far and away the most popular female athlete there is in existence right now, Caitlin Clark. What happens when her jersey sales are revealed in a very important period, by the way? September 1 through November 3rd would be some prime Christmas area. Just pointing that out.
When jersey sales for the critical holiday period dropped, it wasn't just a win for Caitlin Clark. It was an absolute obliteration. Caitlin Clark didn't just lead jersey sales among rookies. She didn't just beat out other WNBA stars. She outsold every single legend still playing the game. We're talking about players who have been faces of the league for years. Wilson, Brianna Stewart, Sabrina Ionescu, all of them left in the dust. And Angel Reese, nowhere near the top.
Remember when I said, folks, when Adam Silver was trying to get Caitlin Clark in the three-point shooting contest in the All-Star weekend, it was because he needed her more than she needed them. All right? That because of the popularity, what it was she could draw in. Fact is, a lot of her ratings in games last year beat a hell of a lot of regular season NBA games.
Clark's jerseys weren't just selling, they were selling out. Entire inventory shipments were wiped out in days. Retailers couldn't keep up. Fans were driving hours across state lines just to find an official Clark jersey in their size. Merchandise exploded by over 300% compared to the previous season, a surge the league hadn't seen even during the peak years of players like Lisa Leslie or Diana Taurasi.
So right here, you see the top selling jerseys. Steph Curry is number one, and who's that? Tell me who this is. Caitlin Clark is number 2.
Meanwhile, Reese's jersey sales barely made a ripple. No crashing websites, no sold out signs in stores. The so-called cultural phenomenon was getting drowned out by actual consumer behavior. And the numbers told an even bigger story. Clark wasn't just a momentary spike. She was the tidal wave lifting the entire league. Even diehard WNBA veterans admitted it. Ticket reps from teams around the league privately said one thing: when Clark's on the schedule, we double our staff. When she's not, we pray for walk-ins. The movement that Angel fans hyped up had no legs. It was Clark who was moving crowds, moving merchandise, moving money, and somehow the most shocking stat was still coming next.
And you see right there, you're like, well, where's the W at? W need not apply here. The WNBA need not apply.
It wasn't enough for Caitlin Clark to dominate the WNBA's jersey sales. She broke into the NBA's territory too. When the full jersey rankings dropped, there she was, not just ahead of every WNBA star, but sitting in second place across the entire NBA and WNBA combined.
That's how she moves the needle. She has not only taken over popularity on the female side, but she's taken over popularity on the men's side. The men's side, the National Basketball Association, no W in front of that.
Second only to Steph Curry. Steph freaking Curry. LeBron James trailed behind. Kevin Durant trailed behind. Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jason Tatum, Luka Doncic, all trailing. Imagine being a rookie from Iowa playing for a mid-market WNBA team and outselling almost every NBA superstar alive today. That's not media hype. That's gravitational pull. That's once-in-a-generation stardom. Meanwhile, Angel Reese, who supposedly shifted the culture, just didn't even crack the top 20, much less sniff NBA territory.
I mean, this should tell everybody that wants to argue for these other players in the WNBA all they need to know.
And while sports media outlets rushed to spin headlines trying to keep up, fans knew what they were witnessing. Clark wasn't a flash in the pan. She was a full-blown supernova, but even that wasn't the full picture.
How far is the gap? How far is the gap between Caitlin Clark and her popularity and anybody else in the WNBA? That gap has got to be like the Grand Canyon. That's like she's in a different area code. She's in a different state, maybe a different country. There are no other WNBA players on this list. Angel Reese is not on there.
While Caitlin Clark's name was setting retail records across the country, Angel Reese's name was, well, missing. There was no viral resale market for her jerseys, no media outlets scrambling to update ticket prices after she was announced. As a starter, no sold-out signs in front of Chicago Sky games unless Clark was the one coming to town. Her supporters could shout all day about cultural relevance, but the market made one thing brutally clear: interest translates into dollars, and Angel wasn't moving either. Angel Reese's hype lived on social media. Caitlin Clark's impact lived in real arenas, real merchandise sales, real broadcast deals.
Really churning, you're really getting an idea of the demand. People want certain jerseys.
And every time Angels fans tried to pump her up as just as big, reality cut them down with cold, merciless facts. Still, some in the media kept trying to create the illusion of rivalry, but once you saw who was packing the arenas and who wasn't, the story was obvious, and the real reason for this massive divide was even more brutal.
Caitlin Clark plays for the Indiana Fever. In Indiana. Now, in sports terms, Indiana is considered, quote unquote, a small market. All right, that's just a fact. It is what it is. It's not New York. It's not LA.
Caitlin Clark didn't enter the league with a Hollywood marketing machine behind her. She didn't land in New York or LA. She didn't get boosted by an elite media market hungry to create the next brandable superstar. She landed in Indiana, small town Indiana, a state where sports attention is fiercely loyal to college hoops, but where pro sports often struggle to command national attention. And she turned it into the center of the women's basketball universe. Think about that for a second. The Indiana Fever, a team that barely moved the needle nationally in previous seasons, suddenly became the hottest ticket in the league, outselling franchises from the biggest cities in America.
And that is Caitlin Clark with the number 2 selling jersey in all of professional basketball.
The Caitlyn effect wasn't media hype. It wasn't a corporate marketing scheme. It was organic, unstoppable, undeniable fan energy. The WNBA's overall attendance jumped 48%, and Fever games were the main driver. Merchandise sales skyrocketed, sponsorships exploded, national TV appearances reached historic highs, all because of one player who wasn't supposed to have the market advantage. But what came next made the gap even more glaring. Let's stack the real-world receipts. Top jersey sales: Caitlin Clark by a mile. Record TV ratings: Caitlin Clark games led every major spike. Massive arena upgrades happened when Caitlin Clark rolled into town.
And for the first time in history, WNBA games will be played in the United Center. The Chicago Sky will host the Indiana Fever at the UC.
Despite the endless online hype about shifting culture, there was little to no evidence that it translated into any actual business gains for the WNBA. The so-called culture wasn't selling jerseys. It wasn't filling arenas. It wasn't driving up ticket prices. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark's jersey didn't just sit atop WNBA sales. It cracked the NBA's elite in markets a world away from Indiana. While Clark quietly made millions for her team and the league, Reese spent more time curating TikTok posts.
Instead, she took the X and pretty much let the fans know how she was feeling. Let's pull up the tweet right now. This is the tweet right here. Angel Reese stated, "This is my podcast. Shut the F up. You don't watch. Thank you."
Then impacting ticket sales. Fans don't follow slogans. They follow stars. And in that arena, the scoreboard was clear, but the media's attempts to spin it made the situation even crazier. The media tried desperately to frame Angel Reese's popularity as a different kind of success. She's a cultural icon. She moves conversations. She represents Gen Z, but culture without conversion is just noise.
I mean, look, if these other players are so damn popular, buy their shit. Up the ticket prices, up the demand, make them change stadiums. Nah.
Where were the skyrocketing Angel Reese jersey numbers? Where were the sold-out stadiums when she came to town? Where were the TV rating bumps when she was featured in games? Nowhere. Meanwhile, every time Caitlin Clark touched the court, even for warm-ups, ticket prices doubled, broadcast audiences surged, and merchandise sales erupted. One built a brand through results. The other built a storyline through social media. And when the dust settled, there was no mistaking which mattered more to the survival and growth of the league. But the truth became even sharper once you compared their mindsets side by side. While Caitlin Clark was showing up, putting in work, and letting her play do the talking, Angel Reese was on podcasts complaining about credit.
Y'all youngins benefited from NIL. What does that mean? We deserve more.
While Clark was setting NCAA and WNBA records at an unprecedented pace, Reese was still talking about who deserved more respect. Clark absorbed media hostility. She endured flagrant fouls. She faced jealousy from veterans. And what did she do in response? She balled out. She showed up. She made the haters look foolish without ever saying a word. Meanwhile, Angel kept trying to force the rivalry, kept trying to insert herself into a narrative that had already passed her by. There is no rivalry when one player is lapping the other by every measurable metric. There's no chess game when one player already left the building with the trophy. But somehow, the most powerful part of Caitlyn's rise wasn't her talent, it was her mentality.
In a humongous, ginormous gap from Angel Reese at 2.
Caitlin Clark didn't campaign to be the face of the WNBA. She didn't beg for attention. She didn't demand respect. She earned it. One logo three-pointer at a time. One highlight reel pass at a time. One sold-out arena at a time. And in doing so, she didn't just become the face of the WNBA. She became the standard, the scoreboard, the ticket sales, the jersey rankings, the TV ratings. They all shout the truth louder than any tweet ever could.
Motion like no other female before her. No other athlete.
Caitlin Clark didn't ride a manufactured hype train to the top. She built the tracks. She drove the train. And now the whole league is riding on her shoulders. There's no Caitlin versus Angel. There's no culture versus results. There's just Caitlin Clark leading the WNBA into a new era, while the rest are still trying to catch up. Comment down below your thoughts on Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.